As the Earth begins to die, it is time for humanity to look beyond the sun. Welcome to Earth in the 23rd century. Humanity faces extinction on a dying planet. In a massive effort, the entire race came together to create the nascent technology needed to make it possible to travel beyond the solar system. I don't like that it went from present tense to past tense, but it did. The various factions that controlled the planet set aside their differences to assure that the human race finds new homes. You represent the leader of one of these powerful factions. It is up to you to lead your followers to new homes. Also, it said new homes twice in the B- on the back of the box, honestly. Among the dozens of habitable planets found in other systems nearby, the human race will survive. But who will control its destiny? Your ambition for power is as limitless as the galaxy we seek to explore and colonize. Also, just for the record, galaxies are not limitless. You can say the universe. There we go. We seek to explore and colonize. Your ambition for power is as limitless as the galaxy we seek to explore and colonize, i.e., your ambition for power has limits. Will your faction become the dominant player in the new age? Maybe. Today on the Board Boys.
Beyond the sun. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Board Boys podcast, Season 14, Episode 13, the season finale. This is your Board Boy, Astronaut Rob.
I was going to call myself my Ratronaut, TK.
Yeah.
But you took it.
You can be a Ratronaut.
And an astronaut?
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
I'll take you into space in a little cage.
Sweet.
It's fine.
To the moon.
This is your board boy, Space Force Jake.
And this is your boy, Big Boinker McDoinker, a.k.a. Cam, a.k.a. Dennis K. Cham. That's a 3-boing beginning where it says, as the Earth begins to die, it is time for humanity to look beyond the sun. Except for also that the sun is the center of the solar system. So, we're already living beyond the sun.
The other way. Wherever we're not at in our orbit.
Yes, and you go across, and then you wait half a year. And actually, how long would it take for a spaceship to circumvent the sun without burning up and then arrive in, the opposite spot of the Earth? Probably a while at this point with our in 23rd century technology. That's 100 years away, so 175.
I mean, technology is exponential, so if it's 100 years away, right, this is where it's set 100 years from now?
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be so much more.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Could we right now send human beings around the sun? I guess in Earth's orbit path, yeah, we could. Just go the other way.
We do it once a year.
Okay. That's a good joke. We were talking about that earlier.
So, Cam, as you were speaking, a couple things came to my mind. I think you probably missed your calling as a copywriter, as a profession. You really do enjoy correcting text on the back of the boxes.
I do.
And two, I've never played it, but there's that space game. And I remember watching a Dice Tower live play long ago when they kind of first started doing them. It's like this sandbox space game where you can kind of do whatever you want to do, and you go fly around. I'm getting a lot of blank stares because nobody knows what I'm talking about.
Hang on, is it super popular?
It was.
So what do you do in the game?
It's probably 10 years old now.
Okay, describe what you do in the game.
It's a sandbox space game.
Okay.
And I just remember somebody took off and flew into the unknown and flipped over a tile and they landed in a sun and they just died. And
is
they were out of the
is
game.
it the one that everybody it was a Legends of Adrift or what system
yes,
or whatever?
Zaya Legends of Adrift. Yes.
Shia.
Yep. It was that game. Anyway,
I've never played it. I've always wanted to.
That's all I could think about because it's like they were trying to go through the sun and they failed.
Yeah. I mean, do you respawn if you die in that game?
I don't think so.
It's very sought after. Right,
I think they were at. I mean, it was super popular. I don't know if it still is popular. I think it's probably a little dated at this point.
Sometimes games that are dated are extra fun, you know?
Yeah, it's exactly 10 years old. Zaya Legends of Adrift, and it is ranked 179th overall. So there you go. And you can still buy it from Far Off Games. Maybe. I don't know. it was an expensive game at the time. It had cool looking ships.
Yeah. Well, in this game, you're like a pilot too, and it's just about like making your pilot do cool stuff, right?
Yeah, I don't know that it's in print. Like I'm seeing eBay like $250.
That's what I'm saying. People have been
prices,
trying to get their hands on it for expensive prices for a long time. That's why they needed to bring it to Board Game Arena and lower the economy for it.
or increase the economy because it'll reach more people. The more people want to play it.
That's true. It would probably just get a reprint at that point.
You'd think so. It's what happens when you're a company that makes like one game ever.
So BGA has been finally, after many, 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 many years, making good on their most wanted games. Because Agricola and Terraforming Mars were up there for so long. So that means that probably eventually they're going to get Brass Birmingham and Le Havre. Those are the other two big ones people have been waiting for forever.
You think so?
Yeah, and maybe we'll get Shia or Zia Legends of a Drift System as well.
They have a good. I mean, I know there's a good Steam version of Brass. I've been meaning to buy it, but I don't know who I'd play it with. So
It's just tough to like get another app and coordinate games on.
yeah, but like I think I would if I had people that like would want to do that
I'll play
like
with
in an
you.
evening. Like I would much rather sit down and chat with someone online
Yeah.
than to just take turns, on the toilet.
I spend most of my nights on the toilet,
know.
so that's where I would prefer.
Just
If you
take-
want
Yeah,
to chat
that's
when we're on
actually
the
where I
toilet, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Elvis style.
What percentage of BGA turns are taken on the toilet? I'm just asking.
A lot. And I mean, not mine. I play on PC mostly, but
I mean, I just bring my computer in the toilet.
oh, that's a good idea. I should actually just get a toilet instead of my
I could
work
just
chair.
see I could just see Tim like in the bathtub with like one of those things
Yeah.
over the top, just like on his laptop up in there.
I got like 4 laptops.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to make sure one falls
Speaking of toilets, I'm really surprised that Bo didn't think it was funny that I kept telling him we should put a toilet in his Minecraft house. He was just like, Cam, the game doesn't really work like that. You don't need a toilet. I'm like, you kind of need a toilet.
You don't need indoor plumbing in Minecraft.
I guess not. It doesn't surprise me that your character doesn't go to the bathroom. Most video game characters don't. Just The
Wait.
Sims.
What other video game characters go to the bathroom?
Duke Nukem.
Oh yeah.
Do Tamagotchis count?
Yep.
Oh,
Tamagotchi characters go to the bathroom.
Yeah. R.I.P. Tamagotchi.
Yeah.
We got one for Nora not that long ago. She goes in phases where she'll do a good job of keeping it alive for a while, and then it'll die, and then she'll forget about it for about 6 months, but then she'll start it up again.
We got an R2D2 one. It was kind of confusing how to use it.
It's very confusing how to use them. There's like 3 buttons, and that has to help you do everything, so it's hard.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like first-person games where if you walk up to a toilet and press the action button, it'll like flush the toilet.
Yeah. I mean, you used to be able to do like interact with all kinds of weird stuff in Duke Nukem.
Mm-hmm.
I love Duke Nukem.
But Duke Nukem will actually pee.
Yeah.
So good for Duke Nukem.
He has some good catchphrases too.
Yeah, Duke Nukem 1, I had like a bootlegged copy of it as a kid. And I think it was just on a computer that we bought from like a friend or something. And all of the graphics were glitched on it. And I didn't realize it. I just thought the enemies looked really weird. And so when I beat it, I was like, okay, well, that's, that was interesting. And then I played it like years later and realized then that I'd been playing a glitched copy of Duke Nukem 1 my whole life. So
Who knew?
that was back in the day when like you still like a video game still like computer games still had like you to shoot your gun you had to hit like Control Alt and S or something. Remember those games with the goofy controls like that?
Yeah, I still remember all the old Doom cheat codes for that. Like I know everyone knows like the old Contra one, right, from Nintendo, but there used to be like 5-digit stuff you could type into Doom. I actually read the book that was based on like ID Software, and that was a pretty interesting read. Like those guys were cool back in the day.
Yeah, what's that guy's name? John Romero.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I played a lot of Commander Keen, and I played a lot of
Yeah.
Wolfenstein 3D, and I didn't learn until many years later that canonically Commander Keen is the Wolfenstein guy's grandson.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yep. So
When I'm thinking of old cheat codes for video games, I think of Donkey Kong Country and putting barrel but spelled wrong to get 50 lives when you start.
BARRAL.
Yep. Also, Game Genie being a thing, and you put that in with the
Oh,
game
yeah,
and getting
the
stuff out
game-
of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew a cheat code for the Aladdin Sega Genesis game that was really hard as a kid. and it would just a level skip code, and I knew how to do that. You hit start and you press A B B A A B B A, and I would just play the game, and I'd be like, after the first level, I'd be like, this is too hard, and just skip to the end and watch the credits. And then I'd go back and be like, okay, let's play Aladdin again. But I felt accomplished at that age, like, hey, I beat Aladdin.
So, Campbell, do you remember? Oh man, I should have kept my old Super Nintendo X Band. Did you remember the X Band?
I don't know if I remember the X Band. What's that?
So, I had this when I was in junior high, probably. It basically was a modem for your Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, where you could like stream games, and they had like.
You didn't stream like that was like you could. That was the first way I could actually play games with people not at my house, but it only worked for certain games like Madden 95. Played a lot of Madden 95, but you only could call. You had to pay for like the premium service to like play nationwide, which we didn't pay for, but you could call into the local modem pool like in Des Moines or whatever, and that was free. Like you paid like $5 a month or something.
That's so cool.
For that access, and so I'm trying to remember what other games we played. Madden 95 for sure, but that was like the weirdest accessory. Like that predates a lot of like online.
Mm-hmm.
Really, once games kind of went online, besides World of Warcraft, I kind of got out of like first person. Like I used to play all that like the couch co-op stuff, with my friends. But now, like if I want to play a video game at home, it's just like I'm just gonna play the solo mode. I'm not gonna go play with a bunch
That's
of
what I do.
12-year-olds yelling at me.
Yeah, my first online game was StarCraft and going to BattleNet and going into different servers and organizing games from there. I remember in high school we always went into Bar was the name of our place, but then other people would just pop in there randomly, which was always weird. But
Yeah.
man, I played a lot of BattleNet. StarCraft was the best.
I remember when my friend's dad, he coded us a batch script that would like auto dial us. It's like we could play one-on-one Doom death matches, like by direct dialing somebody else. Like that was, before games that just kind of had servers that did that. Like that's all you could really do, right? And I don't know. It was the Wild West back then. I remember sitting there trying to figure out how to install a game in DOS with my mom. Like my uncle's on the phone. Like nobody knew command line stuff.
I used to get basic books from the library and program games, like just hey, this is how you play like a 1978 version of this game, and just, like type it in. Nintendo did have a streaming service, so I think it was for the Super Nintendo at the end of its life. Is that the X Band? That's so cool.
Yeah.
That looks rad. That's gaming with power. Also, I do actually play an NES game across the internet with a buddy of mine, Tony, and his cousin Matt. We play like probably 2 or 3 times a day this summer. Bad News Baseball for the NES, using emulators.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I play as the Atlanta team. The hero on my team is named Marty. This is his first names, not real baseball players.
Good old Marty. Yeah, so you just like load the cartridge on the top of that
That's
bad boy.
cool. That's like the Sonic cartridge where you slap the other Sonic cartridge on it, like Sonic 3, or was it Knuckles? You could slap a Sonic cartridge on top of Sonic and Knuckles, and then you could play Sonic 1 as Knuckles.
We used to slap Knuckles on the bus.
Yeah, with your running buddies and your little gang.
Yep. Man, I spent too much time on the bus as a child. Did you guys ride the bus?
I did ride the bus. One time I was sitting next to a friend of mine, and I mean I had to have been like first or second grade, and his sister had been sick that day, and I made some kind of comment like, I bet that bag's not heavy, and he's like, yeah it is, and picked it up and it hit me in the head, and my head broke the window of the bus.
Oh,
like
no.
completely
Whoa.
spider webbed. Somehow I didn't have any major injuries from it, but
That's good.
yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, my
Wait,
mom.
why did he hit you with the bag? Just
No,
to
he like picked it up, and it was heavy, turns out, because there was a whole bunch of books in there, and then like I was trying to catch it, and it just hit my head into the window.
Oh, so it was he
like-
didn't do it to hit you? in
No,
the head.
he was.
Okay.
I told him I bet the bag wasn't heavy, and he proved to me that it was in fact heavy.
Yeah.
A spider-webbed bus window proved that. So
Yeah, my mom was a bus driver, so I was the first one on and the last one off the bus
yeah,
for
that is
many
a lot of
years.
time on the bus.
I read a lot of books and played a lot of weird games with my friends. So, but this is a board game podcast. Who's been playing games?
I actually have been playing a ton of games because I went on a week-long vacation with my family, so all my extended family. I didn't play like anything new, but lots of things we've talked about, so I'm just going to speed run some things that we've talked about before. I played Whistle Mountain twice, and I
Ooh.
really like that game. Like
It's fun.
It is definitely a game that just nobody really was into, but I really like the limitations on the amount of stuff you can hold, and the technologies or upgrades are super cool and really change the game in a lot of fun ways. I played Isle of Cats 2 more times because it's my mom's favorite outside of Castle of Burgundy, and I try to like that game, but I do not like that game. It is just not fun. So I played that twice. Played Castles of Burgundy with a whole bunch of expansions, and that was a lot of fun. So it was the first time my brother-in-law had played with the new stuff, so I think he enjoyed that quite a bit. Played Wine the Film a couple times, played MLEM a couple times, Faraway a couple times. All of those I still really enjoy, but it was a lot of games, which has been strange for me. So it was a good week.
I played Coimbra for the first time in a long time a couple days ago, and we never did an episode on that one, right? Or did we actually talk about it? Or did, like, when it came out, we were at Gen Con with Josh.
Hated that game.
And he hated it so much.
Yeah, he did.
He really didn't like
like
it.
viscerally hated it.
But
we played that in a bar.
Yeah,
at Gen Con.
At Gen Con.
Yeah.
I liked it for what it was at the time, and that was 2017, 2018. And it was great, and I hadn't formulated the same level of opinions about what I like about games and how to judge one quickly based on its merits. And going back and playing it for the first time in a couple of years, I think it has potential to be one of my favorite games ever, because what you're doing in Coimbra, for the uninitiated, and I don't think Coimbra is like that big of a release, right? Like, do people still think about Coimbra?
I don't think
so. Yeah. It's a dice drafter. So what you're doing is you roll the dice, you get 3 of them, and then when you draft a dice, there's 4 colors of dice and a wild one that can be any color. The number of the dice you choose has to do with like how strong your action is going to be, but also how much you have to pay for it. Where you place it, you're like jockeying for position by die number on 3 areas where you're taking like character cards, or 1 area where you're like taking a benefit. And you have 2 resources, money and influence basically, and some of the cards you buy cost influence, some cost money. Whenever you buy a character card, you go up on the corresponding one of 4 tracks. 1 track corresponds to collecting money, the other to collecting influence, 1 to moving your guy around the board, and 1 for just straight points. Then after you do all those actions, the 3 colors of dice you chose, you run your level on those tracks, and so you collect your benefits according to that. And if you have 3 orange dice, you collect money 3 times, which you don't want to do that because the game's only 4 rounds long and you need all the stuff. You get to move your guys around the board, and then take the actions on your character cards. That might be endgame scores, might be instant effects. Moving your guy around the board, there's all these little cities you can go through that do cool stuff, and there's a bunch of different city tiles that make the game different every time. And then at the end of the round, you can fund a endgame scoring condition. There's 6 of them, and if you're working really hard, you can maybe fund all 6, but usually you fund about 3. You just do it. You just rinse and repeat 4 times. You always have the same 48 character cards, but 24 come out in whatever order, and the other 24 come out in whatever order. And that's the game. And it's like I was talking to Jake earlier about, like, Castles of Burgundy is one of the heaviest games that you can just play like without really thinking, but formulate like a good strategy and just kind of play quietly and talk. The Coimbra's a game like that too. Very little setup, fun choices you can make because of the variable setup, and you don't know when things are coming out, but it's like usually the same stuff. I think I could play the game like dozens of times, hundreds of times the way I play Castles of Burgundy. And so I think I'm going to try to get Coimbra to the table more and see if I still feel that way.
I really want to play that again. I played it back when early Arkham days. I think probably played it 2 or 3 times right away and did not like it at all. And so it's kind of always held a negative opinion for me. But I really like Alma Mater, and I don't really know why I like Alma Mater, but I do. So I want to try it again.
I really like Alma Mater also, but to me Coimbra is way more chill, and Alma Mater is way more heady.
Yeah, I like the brutalness of Alma Mater, but I want to play Coimbra.
Like, you can only get so much done because the game's like not very long, and it's kind of like Castles of Burgundy where you get like a very limited amount of turns and things you're gonna do, and once you've played the game a few times, you kind of understand like how far you can stretch the end game. Castles of Burgundy is more about completing a number of things. This is more about completing a couple things.
And that game's got fun tracks and a map.
The tracks and the map, and like it's all like everything you do in Coimbra feels good.
Maybe season 15 we'll hit it up for an episode.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'd like that too.
I'd like to revisit that one. I'd like to talk about a couple games as I've been going through my collection journey, and a couple of them that have recently hit the table.
Hey, I got a question on that.
Yes,
real
sir.
quick. So does it have to be your game or just a game in your collection?
I want it to be just mine, but we played your Barcelona,
count it,
and my
yeah.
app is going to count that
Yeah.
because
You play Barcelona.
I played Barcelona.
I agree. I think it should count.
Yeah. That's not the one I was going to talk about yet. I've been meaning to give an update on that. I'll do that here at the end. But Ponzi Scheme is a game that we played the other day.
It was so fun.
Even with only 3 people, man, and this game I think is out of print. It was a TMG game. It is out of print. It is coming back into print this year with a new company. It should be out later this fall. It's going to be at a lower price point, so they're going to unfancy some of the components, I think.
Like the leather money holder.
Yeah. But if you can find the current version like at a cheap price, Ponzi Scheme rocks.
It's so fun.
It is a dead simple game where you're just on your turn, you take a loan, and everyone takes a loan, and then everyone goes around the table and will offer money for someone's industry tile, because when you take a loan, you also take the industry tile, and you have to share an industry with someone to be able to offer it, and you secretly give them the money, and then they will either give you the tile and take the money, or they will match the money in there and buy your tile from you. And the crux of this game is even though you keep paying the loans, they never go away. They just move back on the little action wheel to their new spot. And so you're just trying to accrue the most points by having the most industry tiles, and they scale based on how many of them you have. And you don't want to be bankrupt. If you're the one that bankrupts out and you lose money or you're out of money, you can't win the game, and like that triggers the end of the game and you score it. I forgot how like simple the game was. I kind of flipped through the rule book. I'm like, oh yeah, that's how you play the game. And it even comes with like these little cards. The cards were enough to really remind me on how to jump right back in and play. It's not very long either. It's the one game where I don't mind paper money. And Ponzi Scheme. It's super fun.
It is definitely so fun. It's definitely got a low barrier of entry for anybody who doesn't play a lot of games, because what you're doing is so simple. It's just really fun to figure out the meta of the table of how much something is worth. The last time I played it, I remember I was doing so well. Like I was in a good situation, and then I got an offer that I decided to accept. And then I was like, this is fine because I don't have a huge payment coming up. So I'll just low ball an offer for somebody else so they'll take it and give me that money back. And that would have gotten me enough. And the person didn't take my super low offer, so then I had to buy theirs for that, and then I bankrupted and lost. But I was in such a good spot, and they must have read the scenario and just knew that was going to doom me. But it's a ton of fun.
Or they didn't know what they were doing.
That is also an option.
But that's the fun part, like, because it just depends on kind of the skill level of people. Like, if people know the game well enough or the scenario. Like, I was in a position where I knew I was going to get bankrupted in 2 turns, but I was fairly certain that someone else at the table is going to get bankrupted in 1 turn. So that's what ended up happening. It's so good. Another one is 5 Tribes, the Djinns of Nakala. And played this one on Tuesday. It had been 4 or 5 years since I played this game. I've been meaning to play it because it's super easy to get to the table. It's a Days of Wonder game, so the production's nice. And this is just a Mancala game where you're on your turn, you pick up a group of meeples and you drop them on the tiles on the board. And wherever you end, the tile you end on has to have a meeple of the color that you drop there. And then you pick up those colored meeples and you do an action based on that color of meeple. The red ones are assassins and let you kill a meeple off the board. The green ones are merchants. They let you buy these good tiles. The blue ones are architects, and they give you points based on blue buildings on the board. There are white ones that let you buy these genies, and there's yellow ones that just straight up kind of give you points. And there's like not an area majority, but if you have the most, if in a 4-player game, if you have the most yellow guys, you're basically going to get 10 points for every player you have more than, plus plus 1 for everyone that's sitting in front of you. So you can score a bunch of points if you have the most yellow guys. And then you'll also do the action on the tile, which there's a bunch of different actions. Super easy game. We played it like in less than 60 minutes. This is the one game, though, and we've done an episode on it because it's in the top 100 still. It's been a long time since we did the episode. But you could AP the crap out of this game and sit there and figure out the exact perfect move every single time. That's not the way to play this game. I just kind of, you got to just pick it and go. And the one thing I didn't mention, you do bid for turn order, and you bid with your money, which is points. So if you see a really good move out there, you might have to bid like 5, 8 coins to take it. The problem is if you ever bid 0, and you're the first one to bid 0, anybody else that bids 0 pushes you back in the turn order, which is kind of neat. There's a bunch of expansions for the game, and the player aids are fantastic. They're like these big, huge player aids that basically just tell you to play the whole game, and you flip it over, and the genie powers are on the back. I know this game's older, but if you are newer to board games and have never played Five Tribes, I would seek out a play of it.
It was my first play. I really liked it. It was really good.
Five Tribes is great. I love it. It's really fun. I haven't played forever.
That's been a really fun thing doing kind of, I mean, it's just pulling off stuff that I haven't played forever.
I just went and played Coimbra. We're drinking from the same fountain. Although Five Tribes is much older than Coimbra, right? Like probably 6 or 7 years.
Five Tribes is 10 years old.
2014? That's newer than I thought. But it's still close. It was like didn't Coimbra come out in 2018? So.
Probably. The last game I want to talk about, and I don't think everybody's played it, but I bought a bunch of games for my parents at Christmas a long time ago. They don't know how to learn or play game. Like that's not a thing they do, even though every time I take stuff over there, they enjoy them. So every time I go over there now, I've been taking one of them off and playing it with them. And like, oh, we get this now. So KingDomino was the one I did last time.
So fun.
Did it with my my young cousins too. And like she's like, yeah, I tried playing this with Bo one time, and she's like, I think we kind of played it right because he knows how to play a little bit, and they all loved it. Like my one niece is, I think I said cousin. My niece is like 7 years old, and she really liked it. My mom liked it, and then my brother's wife also played. And I just forgot how good KingDomino was for just a quick little
Remy really liked
family
it.
game.
Cam busted it out for us when we were over there.
Yeah,
the baby.
I like that anybody can win anytime. There are the one thing I would say is like I don't know if adding the scoring objectives where you want to have the castle in the middle is actually a good rule because it's trickier to make a 5x5 without the castle in the middle. So
Yeah.
I usually don't play with that, but I usually do play where you get extra points if you use every domino.
Yeah, we were playing with all of those, and I ended up having a 5x5 and my castle in the middle, and somehow I backdoored I basically had forest all the way around my board and scored like 40 points with my forests. I didn't even realize it was that many points until we were scoring. I'm like, oh, sorry.
What's the difference between KingDomino and KingDomino?
KingDomino is more complex.
And not as good.
I've never played it.
It's fine. I played it once. It was like, I don't need this. But you know what, KingDomino, the great thing about KingDomino is it's a totally different game at 2-player because you use all the dominoes, but you make a 7x7.
Yeah, the 7x7's cool.
And it's like a completely different experience and trickier and way fun to play one-on-one. And then it's like a casual, like chatty game with, the 4 players. So you basically get 2 games for the price of 1. They just happen to have the same rules, essentially.
All right, quick update. Playing my unplayed, unowned games, I'm 66% of the way done, and it is June. And that's
You're on
including
pace.
I continue to buy games, so
It is not June.
it is July. Sorry. So I guess it's over halfway, but I'm over halfway done.
Yeah.
And play every game in my collection. I am 25% done,
That's an uphill climb.
which puts me right on track because I was going to do
Right
it in
on
2
track to
years.
sell half
Oh,
your...
2 years. Okay, you got it then.
Oh.
Yeah. I set that as a 2-year goal because 1 year seems kind of crazy.
I thought you were right on track to sell 50% of your collection December 30th. I actually played one other game that was brand new to me in the last couple of weeks. The Ryan Laukat Megaland.
I've played that before.
Yeah, so I got several copies of it for like $4 a copy or whatever at Barnes & Noble and it was on sale. And so I've been giving them to various like kid family members. So I gave a copy to some of my nephews and nieces the other day and cracked it out with them. I'll tell you what, it is a phenomenal push your luck game, except it has a couple issues that make it kind of lame. So what you're doing in the game is it's supposed to kind of mirror like a platformer video game, kind of. It just has like all sorts of little video game sensibilities that a kid would like a kid who likes Mario and Roblox and Minecraft. It's kind of like the art is kind of geared towards that. But what you're doing is
that's all his games, right?
No, this one's like decidedly more video gamey than his other.
Okay.
It's got like the same art, but like the theme is way more video gamey. But what you're doing is you like basically going through levels, and you flip a card over, and everybody takes a treasure, and then they like get damaged or don't get damaged depending on whether there's a monster in that level. And then you decide whether you're going home or staying, and you're trying to collect treasures because when you get back to base, you can buy like buildings that do cool stuff for you by spending like different sets of like different treasures, or you can buy like more hearts to take into the map next mission like permanently for like types of the same treasure. Two things I'd change in the game, like which would be really easy to change. Like the game is really fun, works really well, has a bunch of different buildings you can get out, so it's different every time. However, it's kind of a rich get richer game because if you get knocked out, you lose all your stuff and you don't get anything for it. I think that if I were to play in perpetuity with kids, I would give players like a bonus heart that they don't get to keep forever to go into the next mission if they lost all their stuff, just as a consolation. The other thing is you can game whether or not you'll stay alive on the next card, because the most hearts you can lose is 3, and there's only one of those in the deck. I think I would just change that card to remove all your hearts so that you could always just get knocked out at any given time.
Sure.
And then I think Megaland is a great push your luck game.
I just recall being underwhelmed, but it's been a couple of years.
Well, the underwhelming thing is that you can game it, and that the people, like, if you fail pushing your luck, you'd like get kicked out of the game basically.
Or maybe it's just because I thought there was a lot more fun push your luck games.
Yeah, I mean, for kids, I don't know. Like, it worked really well. I think it just needs like a little wrinkle to make like pushing your luck more viable.
It's not Can't Stop.
Can't Stop is a perfect game. We don't need to go there. I mean, if you're gonna buy Can't Stop or Megaland, get Can't Stop. That's all she wrote. But if you have $4 in a Best Buy nearby, and a 7-year-old, Megaland is tight.
My 7-year-old really likes Deep Dive, which is Penguin Push Your Luck.
Yeah, I've never played Deep Dive, but I hear that one's fun.
It's tight.
Well, tonight on the podcast, we went Beyond the Sun, a game by Dennis K. Chan, which is his only game.
For now.
For now, yeah. Artist is Franz Vollwinkle. I might say what art. Publisher, Rio Grande Games.
This cover is very attractive.
It's a good cover.
The rest of it.
I do like the box cover. In Beyond the Sun, you're collectively developing a tech tree to fuel new discoveries and colonize space. It is currently ranked 84th overall, 60 to 120 minutes. Oh, also, it's a 7.9 out of 10. Ages 14 plus, best at 3 players. It plays 2 to 4 players. Weight is 3.12 out of 5. And I think them's the stats. Jake, this is your game. What are you doing Beyond the Sun?
So as Cam kind of alluded to when he was reading the back of the box earlier, you are effectively spreading out and trying to find new planets and develop new technologies to make your actions more efficient. So it is a worker placement game. You are placing your little tower. What would you call the little? It's a hexagon piece. Anyways, but you're going to place that out. It starts with there only being 4 basic actions you can choose from. And as you take research actions, you open up new actions that you can claim. So as you gain research, you're able to take new actions. Then if you are the first person to take that research action outside of the level 1s, then you get to determine what technology goes there. So there's an event that gets flipped that will do something, whether it's giving kind of a boon to the person who went there or letting the table decide something, or I guess something that the person who went there decides for the table. And then based on the color of the technology that you expanded from, you will unlock a new technology. So points come from the different technologies that you unlock, and there's also a spaceport, and some of those technologies are moving your ships around, getting to the position where you control different planets, and then there are actions to colonize those planets. There are also achievement cards. 2 are always the same, so 1 is be the first to colonize 4 systems. 1 is get a level 4 technology, and then there are 2 that pop up that vary a little bit. Once there have been 4 in a 4-player game, achievement discs out there that will cue the end of the game, and then you add up your points that come from colonizing planets, from achievements, from technologies, and then any events that have earned points or give the potential for earning points, I should say. And I think that is a rough, quick description of Beyond the Sun.
All right, well, let's get to the table and come back with our thoughts on Beyond the Sun. We're back. Campbell, Beyond the Sun. It's on BGA. You played it a million times.
I have played it more than 1 million times.
What's your initial thoughts on Beyond the Sun?
I was excited to try it with the expansion tonight. I was concerned that it would make the game a little moreish, but it didn't. It just made the game a little more fun and take the same amount of time. So not only was I zazzed to try it, but it exceeded my expectations for what it did to the game. Sometimes a game, I think, doesn't need much in the way of an expansion, and a little bit of extra things to play around with is perfect in that. And so I'm up on the expansion. I may have to finally purchase a copy of the game and these leader cards, because I think they're cool.
So when we were talking about what comes in, I actually forgot a major part of what comes with the expansion. So the expansion is called Leaders of the New Dawn. So it adds a military and a domestic leader, and they're going to give you either game setup changes, an ability that you can activate during the game, or potentially end game scoring things. It also introduces a solo mode, which is another thing that comes with it. So I did forget to talk about that earlier when we were discussing what came in it. If I'm going all the way back to my first interactions with this game, so I bought it pretty shortly after it came out. It was actually one of the first things I ever purchased from Dungeonscape. But I went in there, and I knew that it had been getting a lot of buzz, and I saw a copy, and I just decided to get it with some Christmas money that I had. And then it went through a phase where just nobody could get it at all. So I loved it from the first time I played it, in the fact that it is big-time planning, and just the draw to get new technologies to determine what's there is never not fun for me. And so that, in Cam mentioned, if we're talking about what the expansion adds, I tend to not like expansions very much in games, especially when they add new mechanisms to what already existed. But this really just adds leaders, which give you abilities, and then new technologies, which that's the best part of this game. So more of those is obviously a plus in my mind.
Yeah, it's hard for me to remember much more of my initial impressions. This is probably like a year. It's probably 2 years ago.
I think
we
so.
Played this first time. Besides that, it does not look very appealing as a game. So, not that it's I don't know that the gameplay actually matches the way that it looks, but seeing it on the table, it's not one of those ones where people come over and be like, "Whoa, what's that game?" So that's
for sure.
Yeah, the initial impression is just kind of like, this kind of looks like trash.
I mean, we initially played this 3 years ago.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
More than 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's been 3 years since I've played it. Like, I haven't played it. Initially I was like, oh yeah, this game looks cool because tech trees are awesome. And then I looked at the price on the box, and I'm like, nope, and I put it back on the shelf because it just didn't look like it matched what you got for the money, and I just said no thanks. But then the first time I played it, I was like, this is a solid game. I don't want to go any deeper than that, because we're about to hit our pros. And I think my number one pro is the game just plays differently almost every time because the technology is just going to show up differently every single time you play.
Yeah, I love the versatility of what comes out, and even if you are somebody who's going to spend a little more energy on the colonization part of the game, there's still an incentive that pulls you to go out and get technology because then you get to determine what's there. And so for this game, from the beginning of it, it looked like it was going to be a very colonization-heavy game, and then Tim and I kind of led a lot of the early decisions for what were out tech-wise, and we just didn't pick ones that accommodated for that. So they just never got some of the really powerful actions that give you a lot of utility on the colonization board. And I just love the versatility of what can happen based on the choices and who makes those choices in the game.
Did we talk about how great this game looks yet? No, I'm just kidding. Actually, I like how it looks, but I'm sure we can save the graphic design for later commentary. I think that probably the funnest thing for me in this game is the 3 steps away loop. You know, everything's always 3 steps away, and deciding how I'm gonna do that. But what makes it interesting is I have to think of that third step, the next. There's a lot of options for me to do the middle step of my 3 steps away. So how do I take step 2 so that it's also step 1 of a new third step? Because you have to balance your resources. You have to make sure that your production is where you need it to be in order to accomplish certain things. You need to set up your tech tree, and you need to move around the space board. So the planning kind of streamlines things, but there's a lot of player interaction. You can block each other's actions. You can, the board state can change. New techs can come up. You might be gunning for a tech thinking you're going to, you have a pretty good shot of getting a certain type of action or up immediate with the tech you're going to get, but not. An event could change things. So I really like games that skew strategic, but I think what makes those fun is the tactical wrinkles, and I think this game absolutely annihilates that balance of having to switch my tack up while keeping an overall goal. So
I completely agree with that. I'm also deep in the strategy type of gamer, but there is enough that you need to read what's happening and zig when everybody else is zagging. And I think there brings so much value from doing that. If you purely just don't deviate from what you're thinking you're going to do, other people can hinder that enough that it doesn't put you in a great leading position. And I get an immense amount of joy from that.
Yeah, I get an immense amount of anger from that.
I think this is the angriest that I've seen you in any board game scenario.
It's all in good fun though, and I
if this table wasn't so heavy, you would have flipped it.
I went full cam on this one and got real
I liked
mad.
it. I was pumped on it.
Although I didn't win, because normally you get mad and win. I got mad and lost, like you should, and it's just one of those things where
Josh style.
Cam was 3-step, he's got a 3-step plan. Well, my 3-step plan kept getting reset because of multiple different things happening over and over again, which is good. That kind of pain makes the game fun, I think, long term. It does say the game is best at 3, and I could see that. Maybe this game's more fun when you get a turn every 3 turns instead of every 4 turns, so there's one less step between you and your plan falling apart.
That and the thing that can hurt you the most is more congested at 4 players. Because, if you have to wait an action to go to the next space, that's really different than, losing your opportunity to do the action you wanted to do because you no longer control the area.
And tonight it was mostly because, if I owned an area, the space on the board to colonize, there's only 2 spaces on the board to colonize for a while. And we just never did more technology to do that. And I had a big space fleet, and I was never able to colonize because either someone would take over the planet I was trying to colonize when the colonized space was open, or the colonized space was taken when I could do the thing. And if it wasn't taken by somebody, then it was taken by somebody else. Or maybe I didn't have the resource at the right moment. So there's lots of things which were probably all on me because I didn't plan well enough because I like to play more tactically than strategically. So, I just blame myself and Campbell.
And me, yeah.
But mostly myself. But no, I like all those things about this game. I really like the fact that I have not I mean, I've probably played this on BGA in the last couple of years, 1 or 2 times, but I've not played it at the table for like 3 years. And Jake like re-explained it, but like I pretty much kind of remembered everything. Like it's a very low overhead to get into the game as far as what you do. There's very few things you have to really know. Now, as more stuff comes up, more possibilities open, and that's kind of where the depth comes in. But like the core basic gameplay is fairly simple for a heavier Euro game like this.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Another thing that I love is with after you take a turn, you do a production, and you're either adding more people or you're getting ore. And based on how many discs you've automated, which is moving them out to a permanent track, how many discs you have out for controlling things, it's going to vary the amount you get. And I love the dynamic of you really have to be cognizant of the decisions you're making, because you can get to a point where you can't produce people because you've exhausted your resources and you're backwards. You don't have enough of those discs out till to gain new people, and you can just find yourself really stuck. So just the decision of what I'm going to produce can really, really matter a couple turns in the future, and I think that is a feel that I don't get in a lot of games, and I really enjoy that about this game.
That could also fall into con territory for a lot of people.
It can. I agree.
Because it's one of those things where it could be a gotcha, especially if you don't know the game well enough. And I think Tim and I both fell into that trap a little bit tonight, where you can just run into a wall where you ran out of stuff because your production's not high enough and the people or all your guys are stuck being spaceships and you can't colonize them. And so you get stuck doing like what we talked about is the cruddy action on the board of just making one dude and taking a rock. But that's probably your own fault.
There are also techs that really mitigate that, but again, it's just a matter of whether they're out there, because there are some techs that let you pull people over as a part of your turn, and then that sets you up for future things, so it can kind of jumpstart that. As Cam mentioned, that 3-plan thing. But again, it's so variable whether that comes out, and that's why it benefits you to be the person making some of those decisions in some instances.
Yeah, I think this game like plays the right amount of time as well. Like, it definitely falls in the zone of you can't do everything, but also it falls into the zone of not knowing exactly when it's going to end, because the end game stuff where you're putting the things out on the objectives doesn't really happen for the first 80% of the game, and then it just happens. Like in 5 minutes, the game ends. Like, but you can kind of see it coming, and it's coming, but it can kind of abruptly come. And I do like the game length. I do like the feel for like the number of actions and what you can get done. Initially, this game for a con would have been the price point, but and I said that in initial thoughts, but as we're looking at it now, this game is like under $60 on Amazon. That feels okay to me in the current economy. And you can get the expansion and the base game for less than you could buy the base game when it originally came out.
I wonder how much that had to do with the supply crunch on it, because like I very vividly remember right after it came out, they made their initial one, and then you just could not get this game anywhere. So I wonder if that kind of factored into their decision for what they priced it at right off the bat. But it is definitely a lot lower now. But I agree. If you just like are looking at this game and you're somebody who wants to be engrossed by what you feel, this game isn't going to do that. What you do is thematic, but it's just not. You don't get that visually, and I think that's definitely a big con for it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the price, like, that's now a pro for me where it would have been a con before.
Any of the pros? Tim, you got any pros? You haven't said anything.
I mean, you guys said pretty much all. Like the worker placement's very tight. It's good. I do like the changing worker placement spots. I think that's interesting. You can get in some predicaments with where they end up, and that's all fine. Sometimes it's a little.
Sorry, didn't mean to get
fine.
you there.
It just sometimes it's a little rough with the colonization plus the turns, and I think the 3-player to 4-player game is, it's probably a big difference. And I would never play with the basic factions. I just don't think they're very fun.
BGA mode is not as good as IRL mode.
Correct. Yeah. So
that's how they get you.
I mean, that's another pro is the asymmetrical factions. I mean, on top of the expansion stuff, like I loved all the expansion stuff, so that's a pro for me. More asymmetry between us. And then just like you said, like my favorite expansions are generally more stuff expansions. and this has that in spades. So
Here's one more thing that I like about this game is a lot of things you do in Beyond the Sun will give you tricky little abilities that you get to use like once or twice over the course of the rest of the game when you get them. And it always feels good to take advantage of them when you get to. And on a greater scale, like everything just kind of feels good when you do it in this game. Like a lot of immediate bonuses for researching tech. A lot of like you get production every single turn. When you place a disc on a planet, you usually get something. You usually get something in addition to just points for colonizing. So pretty much every action you take in the game, you get to do something extra, which is neat.
yeah, and I think if you like technology trees, you'll probably like this game. I mean, it's Tech Tree the game, and the tech tree. I mean, there is the exploration board and like the area control on the planets, but I mean, you can just focus on the tech tree and do well. Like, I think it's cool that you can score a ton of points just by doing technology. And on top of that, you just get extra stuff. Plus, then you get to do like extra events. Like the technology board, it's the main focus of the game, I think.
Look, I mean, if you look at the size of the two boards, I think they definitely want the
Yeah,
technology
I mean,
to
and
be the main
and it's
focus.
fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, if we can move into like cons now, I don't know if it's a real con because I just haven't spent as many games chasing space points as I have tech points. But a lot of the times I feel like I just end up playing the entire time on the tech board because it's easier. There's less competition because even if somebody opens something up in front of you, you can just go get that too. There's a lot of points to be had. You always just get points for getting tech. It's how you automate so much stuff and keep it on off your chain forever. And there's, I don't know, sometimes going around the solar system can be tricky, and it just feels like maybe the rewards for spacefaring should be a little higher. But on the flippy flop, it can be scary. It can be scary to jump without a parachute, and every time I play space, you still have to do stuff on that tech board. I'm wondering if if I'd spent 3 or 4 more turns in space and had gotten to colonize a couple more times, if that wouldn't have been more valuable than getting a level 4 tech. So
I think that this game doesn't want you to be a hard specialist. It wants you to do a little bit of each, because even if you're going to live on the colonization board, it benefits you to get a couple better technologies that augment those actions to make you more efficient. And if you only live on the tech board, but you don't have a way of automating a lot of disks, then you're going to have problems being able to keep up the production level to continue to pay for the costs of what research are. So I think it wants you to do something partially to really lean into the other thing heavily. And I think that both of those ways are viable, but I don't disagree with Cam that somebody who doesn't want to have the potential negative interaction of fighting over a planet in space, they might be drawn more naturally to hit heavier on the tech side than the colonization board.
Well, you just have to. So, if you put them side by side, you can research tech quickly, and depending on your techs, you can continue to chain a tech into a tech into a tech. You won't lose anything. You have to give up a dude to put it by the tech.
But also, it's really ore expensive.
It is ore expensive. But you can get ore at the end of every single one of your turns. Now, if you're finding techs that chain into other techs, you're probably not getting techs that help you increase your economy as well.
For sure.
But you have to spend a lot of actions setting up colonization. All your everything you use to colonize comes off the board. You have to spend a lot of stuff usually to colonize too, especially early colonization is really expensive.
But I guess to counter that lightly, colonization also gives you permanent benefits, though, because you're pulling more discs off your board, which makes your production better. Whereas technology, you may get something that's an immediate boon and a better action. You're not necessarily getting. Plus, also, it resets your human production a little bit because it puts those ships back into your colonies, which you don't get anything from tech. So
yeah, I need to go play 4 or 5 games in a row where I just try to get the Warlord achievement and see how I feel after that.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about it. The art's not great. It doesn't look very appealing. The physical, like the boards and stuff, are all very. They don't feel very good. The cards, I don't know. The cards were probably fine, but like they have dual layer boards, but the top
Super
layer
shallow.
is like basically a piece of paper, right? And I
It
don't know.
feels like most of Rio Grande Productions.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there's the player boards. They mechanically they are nice, but they don't. Even those don't. You have a little bitty sigil of what your your company is, and then it's got a color. But I mean, like that's
It's
it.
like they
there's-
designed this game to play really well on BGA, which it does.
It's like they designed this game to hit a $40 MSRP, and they doubled it. And I don't know what that decision was, but like I actually think they probably would have done a lot. It's done pretty well, but I think it would have done a lot better if it was just if you had regular dice and you had the dual layer punch boards and things were just had a little more. I don't know. Even the symbolism's a little bit like the one next to a ship is like one ship, and then the one inside the ship is a ship that is a one. You know, just there's a couple things like that. It's just a little bit annoying. The second thing for me is I don't know if they're bonuses you get for researching the tech the first time or just wildly.
the events.
The events. They're just all over the place. Sometimes they don't do anything. Sometimes they help other people more than they help you. I wish you could draw two and pick one because I just feel like every time I played this, I've been like, yeah, this event didn't do anything.
Like
or
you drew one in the last round that
did
did
nothing. Right. Yeah.
Because it came in the last round.
Right,
Yeah.
because it came in the last round. Yeah, so it's just like you're putting yourself out there to go do that. You don't know what's going on. I guess you do get to pick the two things, but like you could get 3 points, or you could get 0 points, or you could give everybody else on the table 2 more points, and it just doesn't.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest thing for me, is this game, when it comes down to it, is a pretty tight optimization puzzle that people can just stick a stick in your tire spoke and flip you over your bike.
the game can do it to you.
Like that's how the game feels to me at certain points. It doesn't take much for something like that to happen. And Cam says he likes doing the tech board because nobody can stop you from doing the tech board. But if you're slightly behind on the tech board, behind other people, they're ahead of you, getting to pick all the techs in front of you, getting to do what they want to do, and then you're following behind them. And then if you try to shoot down a different way and somebody else is already doing that one, I don't know. You just sometimes tonight I just felt kind of behind everyone the entire time for various reasons, and I think that can be a bad feeling in this game.
And I definitely think, adding on to that, it can be hard to come out of that. If you end up backwards production-wise and kind of stuck somewhere, there's not a fast way that you can really jumpstart and get yourself back up. It takes a couple turns, and then from there, that can kind of further put you even further back. So I definitely agree with that, and can feel like a couple wrong decisions can be pretty detrimental to your long-term success in this game.
Yeah, it didn't feel like I was. Normally, I've definitely been in the spot before where I didn't have the dice that I needed. Tonight, I was like, I had dice, I had resources for most of the game, but then like at the crutch times at the end when I needed them, I didn't have them, or the space was taken, or this or that.
I like your portmanteau of the word clutch and crucial. When you said crutch, is that a thing? The crutch times.
Oh yeah, that was
It's a portmanteau of clutch and crucial, and I like it.
perfect.
The crutch
I
times.
didn't even know I did that.
Dude, that was crutch.
That was crutch. So crutch. All right, should we hit the final thoughts?
Yeah.
All right, here on the Board Boys podcast, we have a 3 boing rating scale, 0 being the worst, 3 being the best. One time you can give your 4 boing game. Will be Beyond the Sun tonight for Tim? Maybe.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Probably
4.5.
will be for me. This is my favorite game.
Campbell, why don't you give me a 0 boing Beyond the Sun game?
Well, you could probably tell us about that.
When you have to, well, it would have been,
When Cam keeps stealing your planets.
yeah, when Cam sits to the left of you in this game, that's the 0 boing
Oh
game.
my goodness.
When you have to take the action that just gives you people and or the entirety of the game, that's a 0-point game of Beyond the Sun.
0-point game of Beyond the Sun is you stay on Earth, get destroyed by whatever.
You have 50 ships.
The
and Sol,
calamity.
and you can't make any people.
All right, and a 3 boing game?
You get all 3 level 4 techs.
And colonize 4 systems.
And colonize 8 systems.
Dang,
8
Daniel.
systems.
You get like the game. Is the game like trying to tease you by giving you like 10 star tokens? Like, who's using all those star tokens? They could have cut some costs there.
There are reasons you use them for other things that you could
Okay.
end up using a bunch that wouldn't necessarily mean you got a lot of points.
One of my
Okay.
heroes, I had to put a thing on it one of my
Okay.
leaders I did for. But
Well, that's fair. All right, Campbell, why don't you go first?
Beyond the Sun, many times when I'm getting ready to play Beyond the Sun, I'm like, yeah, this game's fine. Whatever. Beyond the Sun, who cares? But I always have fun playing it. I wish so much, and I'm going to go try this now. I always wish that I could feel like I was more successful in the space part of the board. Because it's so easy to get drawn into that sweet technology. But maybe that's just the way it's got to be. I don't know. I really like this game. 2.5. Let me go mess around with those ships some more, and it could become a 3 if I feel like I can win a lot of the time by doing ships really well and eschewing tech.
All right, Jake, you're going.
And not availing myself of tech.
You're gonna go last.
okay, I'm going last. on
Yeah,
this.
this is your favorite game of all time.
I already gave that away.
Yeah. For me, it's fine. I think playing it as much as I have on BGA might have tainted this game a little bit. I do like it better in person, and maybe it's because the player powers are not available on BGA. They make the game so much better. It's fine. It's a 2. I would play it. I want to play it more in person. I probably would never play it again on BGA, unless someone from the Discord wants to play it. Then I will. But it's fine.
I'd agree. I don't really enjoy it on BGA either. I feel like I'm even farther behind in the happenings there than at the table. But this is my favorite game that I don't own, I think. I don't know that I'll ever own it. There is the new Beyond the Horizon coming out, and that's going to be Cranio Creations release, and I love Cranio games. So I'll definitely look into that.
I really like the extra designers that are with Dennis Chan for that too. So
Yeah,
I'm
it's
all over it.
Adam Hill, Ben Pinchback, and Matt Riddle. But also the Luciani is in there too, not as designing, but if it's from Cranio, he's touching it. So we all love that here as well. So that one I might take a look at this fall. It's a 2.5 for me. I will always play this game. It's super fun, even though I yelled at Campbell a lot tonight. Most of that was in jest.
It wasn't.
Here's the thing about Rob and the way he plays Beyond the Sun. Doesn't think about what I'm going to do to him when he's taking his turn. He doesn't think about the cam coefficient.
That's true. Even Cam's like, I told you that was what I was going to do, but I was like, I was so mad from the previous action. I'm like, I wasn't listening to you.
Yeah, I was trying to leave that thing open for you, but I had to go there to get my resources, so now I'm
Yeah.
going to do that. And he's like, I did it, and he's like, what?
He did 2 actions in a row. The first action he didn't really want to do, but he did it to do the second action, and both were actions that I wanted to do real bad.
It was a sad day, but you know what? Neither of us won, so 2 wrongs makes a right.
Slad side whistle noise here.
Okay, so my final thoughts aren't going to be a huge surprise because we recently did our top 10 games and this was in there for me. So I had this as my number 8. Upon playing it again, it's definitely still there. I really love this game. I love the technologies, the variability of that. I love the way that you can get deep strategic thought into what you're going to do and long-term planning. It just scratches all those itches. I love the production and how you have to be really, again, cognizant about the decisions you're making. It is definitely a 3 boing for me. It is a game that is one of my favorites, and I will always be interested in playing it.
Sweet. All right, that'll wrap us up for Beyond the Sun. So today, on the Board Boys podcast, we like to look back 1 year in the past. Cam, hit us with that theme song.
Baby, turn around. I want to see that sexy board game. Go board boys, bump.
Ooh,
Or dumb.
That's the B2K version.
yeah, going up. All right, so 1 year ago we played Newton, and it was a 7.6 for 370. It is now a 7.5. It's a bump or dump.
It's a bump, right?
This is an interesting one because it's an older game that
It
we
is.
played. Sorry, what was the number before?
It was a 7.6 for 370. It is now a 7.5.
It was it a reprint or just new boards and stuff that came out with this?
Expand. Well, it was an expansion. It was a
And
new map and new. That was
Yeah.
it. New map.
It's not it's a dump.
I'm gonna say it's a dump too.
Cam.
I'm gonna say bump.
It's a dump. 407.
Ugh.
407.
That's just too far down there for new games
I
not
know.
to be
I wanted to say it.
not to be getting in there.
You were trying. I really like Newton, and I definitely really like the new map, and it's good on BGA.
Yeah, Newton's one of those games by Cranio that they pump out a lot of extra little stuff for it, and I like all of it. The new maps are neat. There's a new Italy map, I think, that's coming out. Like, so there's a new like tech map that's already out, but there's a new like move your guys around the board map coming out too, which would be cool. It is probably it's got to be my top 5 solo games because you just play the game. Like, you don't have to do anything special. You literally just play the game and you see what you score, and that's it. So that's fantastic.
I have only played it twice on BGA, and I have had wildly unsuccessful games of it because I don't really understand a lot of it. So I really want to play it IRL. I've liked what I've experienced, and I think it has the potential to be a game that I enjoy a lot. I just need to give it that opportunity.
Scoring points in Newton can be obscure.
I've played the game so many times and I'm still bad at it. I don't know why. I love the designers and I like that kind of game, and I'm just bad at it. How?
Scoring points is weird. Like
Yeah, it is.
Like you have to bang to the end of the things to get the end game. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. All right, cool.
It seems like you have a ton of time to do everything
You
too because
don't.
it's 6 rounds long, but you just don't.
Yeah, and and at the end of the game, your actions are huge. So yeah, but like you can basically just do one thing and just smash it. All right, you can give us feedback on the Bumper Dump at our Board Game Guild, which you can find through our website, boardboys.com. So we got a bunch of replies. So Christopher Boat, one of the most underrated games from the Italian designers, takes an excellent card play from Mombasa and pairs it with delicious Euro tracks, 3 boings. Jeremy Dobler, I'll probably settle at 2 boings for now since I have no clue what I'm doing 40% of the time. Sounds like Jake. I really did need to sit down and play it in person to get a better grasp. BJ from Board Game Gumbo says 2 boings for gameplay, 2.5 boings bump because the Board Boys taught this to me at the BGG Fall. I assume that was Cam, and it was an awesome play. Is that Rob?
It was me.
Of course it was you. I played it a couple times since then. It's a solid Euro. Rob Cooper, only played it online. I like the concept of the card play and it affects the action strength. I think some of the tracks seem a little underwhelming, uninteresting, but your card selection can tailor that somewhat. 1.5 boings for him, potentially be 2. Ryan, initially hot on Newton for a few years and decided to cool, and has definitely cooled on the game over time. It's beige and bland. That's true.
It looks great. Shut up.
Yeah, it
I'm
is
just
definitely a floppy hat one. There are
I
so
love
many more
floppies.
interesting Euros I would prefer to play nowadays. 1.5 boings, and then Christopher Hickman, 2 boings for me. Big fan. It's my 3rd favorite from the Italian trio. I'd like to know what his other 2 are.
I don't know. I like Italian trio though.
Yeah.
It sounds like something you ordered at a restaurant.
Yeah, I
it's
think it's Subway and Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
Papa John's probably.
Olive Garden.
Yeah. Yeah, Fazoli's.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, like as Tim said, is that a sentence? I don't think so.
You said it.
Like as Tim said.
Like as Tim said,
Crutch.
crutch.
Like as Tim said would
Thank-
be like
yeah.
if you're Shaggy. Like as Tim said.
You can be crutch and go to theboardboys.com. Check out all the links there, including our Discord. Come hang out with us, chat with us. We've had a bunch of new members recently. There's also the Patreon link on there. If you'd like to be a patron of us and support us, we highly appreciate it. Shout out to our patrons, Hammond Buckland, BJ from Board Game Gumbo, Timothy Crisco, Shifty Teeth, Jeff Gray, Andre Bosch, Braden Dowdy, Rob Cooper, Richard Lane, Matt Kelly, Jeremy Thoman, and Dom Larkin. Until next time, we hope you like board games. Boing, boing, boing and stuff.
Yeah, very soon there will be a party for the world.
With just one hand held up hard, I can blot you out of sight. Peekaboo, peekaboo, little love. just my heart and my mind. I can be driving home, loosely on the seat. I get out of my car, step into the night, and look up at the sky. And there's something bright traveling fast. Just look at it go. Just look at it go. Hello, watching the storm.